mentioned that you would want a court that where the public will know what its goals are, so there is something to measure the performance of the court. But I think the main concern would be how you will be able to get the present members of the Supreme Court who are more senior than you are in age, who may not have the same values as you are fortunate to have in your commission among your peers, and in judicial experience, in order to support your proposals for judicial reform?
Well, I would like to think that regardless of age, lawyers have common principles, common values, common ways of sort of like seeing what is right and what is wrong. I would also like to think that the current membership of the court, even if they're older than I am, if ever they see a good thing, if ever they are exposed to fresh ideas and fresh insights, that they would be adaptable and that they would see things differently. So I've had this issue before in previous undertakings. Yes, it can be a challenge. But as I said, as long as people focus not on the personalities, but focus on the principles and the values and the work at hand, I think it is doable. Now, the one thing also I wanted to say was with respect to these goals and objectives, I was hoping that the court would run itself more like a, like a business, in a sense that you must have work plans, you must have key result areas that you have to report on. I don't know, as you had pointed out, we started here in the Supreme Court in the 1980s. From then until now, I have not heard of any planning session or, say, strategic planning workshop that the courts would do at the beginning of the year to map out what kind of goals and objectives they would like to attain. I think this is something that they should really look into. And after that, as I said, that the time of being cloistered, that the time of being like a hermit, I think is gone, because even the Pink Sisters or the Trappist monks of Guimaras now use the internet and also text. So I think it's high time that the court open up its operations, receive constructive feedback, and I would like to emphasize the adjective constructive, from the public so that it can improve on its operations.
Moving on to another topic, you have taught constitutional law for many years. And how would you use this rulemaking power of the Supreme Court under the 1987 Constitution to address issues of delay in the disposition of cases, as well as corruption in the courts?
Right. Well, actually, I did have a little paragraph on that. So let me... I think what we should do, first of all, is that we should consider the outsourcing of the management of dockets as distinguished from judicial writing to the private sector, so that the latest technology can be used to track the status of cases. That way, judicial scorecards can be developed to effectively monitor court performance. Similarly, why should court administration be assigned to lawyers when other professionals could do a better job? Now, if a lawyer had an MBA degree as well, that would be a different story. The other thing that I think that the courts should take into account, well, with respect to specific amendments, I would say that the rules of court, and specifically the rules on civil procedure and criminal procedure, should be amended so that the filing of frivolous cases and interlocutory appeals should be minimized. We all know how Rule 65 has been abused. In that regard, we also should look at Rules 41, 45, and Rule 58. There should be a limit to the motions to postpone and seek an extension of time to file a pleading. Also, judges should be encouraged to write shorter decisions and to use language that the non-lawyer parties can understand. But also, if I may say, a major culprit for delay is in the Constitution, Article 8, Section 15, Paragraph 1. This states that the period to decide cases is counted from the time a case has been submitted for decision. But it can take 5, 15, even 30 years before a case is deemed submitted for decision. So in reality, the Constitution has not arrested, but has in fact countenanced delay. The quick fix is to amend this section so that we count the period for deciding not from the date of submission, but from the date of filing. Thank you.
What about with respect to corruption? Do you have any thoughts on how the rules can be amended in order to address the problem on corruption, or do you feel that the new Code of Judicial Conduct would suffice?
If you ask me, I think that the rules are sufficient. The problem, again, is with respect to the people. After all is said and done, we have good rules. We also have good laws, but the issue is with respect to implementation. And that's why, if you ask me, what would I do? First thing, I would get good people. And when I say good people, I mean competent and honest people who could do the job. So to me, the big problem of the Supreme Court is a human resources problem. Because once you get good people, then corruption will be minimized. Obviously, we will also need the cooperation of the integrated bar and other sectors, the business sector, because it takes two parties to have a corrupt transaction. So, in the same light, they should work hand in hand with the courts so that not just real issues of corruption are prevented, but even perception. Because after all is said and done, perception can become reality. And it is important that that the people believe in the credibility and the integrity of the court system for our society to properly function.
You agree that independence is also a major factor in the courts. Now, my next question is, do you recall any specific instance where you as a public official have shown integrity and independence from the appointing power?
Yes, I do. And in fact, well, I hope I will not be violating confidences. But as you know, one of the big issues facing the PCGG is the COCO levy cases involving the San Miguel shares. And our commission felt that it was really our duty to try our best, even given the circumstances, to try and get back that COCO levy monies and the San Miguel shares back to the government for the benefit of the Filipino people. Because I think of our zealousness, I was called to Malacanang to make a presentation to the President and to the entire cabinet in respect of this issue. I do know that the President is related to Ambassador Cojuangco, although I must again say that after making our presentation, the President just was nodding his head, did not provide us any instructions for or against. He just wanted to know what was going on with respect to these cases, and he has allowed us to do our job. But I must admit that it sort of like made me think twice as to how we should proceed with this matter.
Thank you, Dean Bautista. Now, may I just be allowed one more question, which I feel is quite necessary, in as much as the chairman is not only chairman of the PCGG, but also a law dean. And I also a member of the MCLE committee. What do you feel has to be done as far as continuing legal education is concerned in order to improve the moral fiber of our legal profession?
Well, first of all, I think that the moral fiber, though, will be created during the more formative years. As we all know, the older we are, the more set we can be in our ways. But having said that, with respect to legal ethics, I think the way it's being taught is wrong. It is